Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you could have first heard this episode 9 months ago if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that will get right on your ticks.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, this is it!
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I am Sam Nifty Delaney, so what?
Welcome along. Another Life Logistics, because we've got a bumper crop of queries and questions and woes and worries from all of you at the start of the month, so we're still looking at that. We'll probably make this the last one, I think, because then we'll move on to something else. A history box or a tune machine, something like that, next time on Tuesday. Right, so I'm still looking at the list of questions that came in, Sam, on the 1st of September. Alright, here's one that looks quite long. I haven't read it, but I'll read it out and we'll see what we think. It's from Corey. He says, I live in Australia, but I'm currently back in England to see my 6-year-old daughter who moved back with her mother in 2019. Oh, you might have to write this down, this was complicated. My ex-partner has a new partner, and from what my daughter tells me, he is very nice, and she now considers herself to have 2 dads.
Oh, no.
I am ambivalent / supportive of my ex's newfound happiness, but have no interest in meeting him, though concede it is inevitable. How should I treat a meeting situation when it invariably arises? I don't own a Stony. Do I need one? Well, you got to go in with the power handshake, haven't you, Corey? You got to go in with the power handshake, mate. Crush, death crush grip. Whoa, somebody's entering the Vita Modular as we speak.
Just getting a cup of tea from my good wife, thank you.
Live tea receival.
Live tea receiving in my... It's quite interesting, this, actually, Andy. I'll quickly show you this with apologies to our listener who's waiting for advice, and I do have advice, as do you. But this is a... I don't know if you recognise what's on this cup. It's the groin of Han Solo, and also
it is.
the groin of a stormtrooper, and also the groin of Luke Skywalker.
Princess Leia.
No. that's Luke, mate. But
all right.
You can tell because he's got a lightsaber hanging off his belt. What's that on your belt? It's my lightsaber. That's where I keep it. It's because this space gown I wear don't have pockets, so I just have to. It's a space gown, and it's basically you can get pocketed things like my mate Han Solo. He wears a sort of a waistcoat that has pouches in it, and he can keep his things in that. But generally speaking, I wear cloaks. Smocks.
I say me mate, he's more of an acquaintance because it's a turbulent relationship we have.
To be honest, he can be a right cunt.
He calls me kid all the time. He gets on my tits.
He's patronising. I tell you what, if he was chocolate, he'd eat himself. And his only real mate is this fucking gigantic dog that he hangs around with, who is actually all right, but extremely aggressive.
But it walks on its hind legs. It's pretty cool for a dog.
Yeah, I don't mind it so much. He's all right. You know what you're getting with him. But this bloke, Han Solo, he plays a lot of mind games. But yeah, like I say, he has pockets. He's one of the few people you will see in this part of the galaxy who has pockets. Most people wear gowns and smocks and the like. Like me. Yeah. Comfort wear, really. In space, you've got to be comfortable.
It's very hot.
This cup is part of a tower of cups that was bought for me as a present. I can't remember who by.
Right. Tower of cups.
And they slot into each other. And when they're all slotted together, you see there's like 3 cups, and you see the full length character. But today I'm drinking from the. Sometimes you have the one with their feet. Sometimes you have the one with their head. Today I've got the midsection one, so it feels like I'm drinking from the groin. Of my space heroes.
Are they the oversized tea mugs that we prefer, or are they a regular size?
I'd say it's slightly oversized, yeah. Not giant, not one of those pint ones. Pub I used to drink in and do the pub quiz in every week. The manager John, he always he was the quiz master, and he had a pint-sized tea mug, and he'd get that on the go at the beginning of the quiz, and he'd just sip at it and make the. It must have got cold.
I was going to say it got cold.
The quiz would have gone on for two. But I said, "Do you have that especially for the quiz?" He went, "No, I only ever have a pint of tea." Legend.
Good stuff.
Anyway, yeah, so
Dirty
getting back
Den
to
used to drink tea. Dirty Den used to drink tea behind the bar of the Queen Vic, didn't he?
Did he? That's a
I seem
nice
to
touch.
remember.
That's a good bit of like character.
Yeah.
They wrote it better in those days, the little touches of these
Yeah.
characters.
Anyway.
So you're saying
we've
power
got
handshake.
Corey's problem. Well, that was just an initial reaction.
I don't love
know.
the power.
It's-
I mean, we've
it's-
talked about power handshakes before, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, I remember... Yeah,
Retract that.
my girlfriend I had when I was a teenager, I'll never forget, you know, on those ones where you walk in a bit pissed and she goes, my parents are in. And I was like 17 and you're like, oh no. And you're drunk, you know. And they go, we better go in and say hello. So you go into the living room and they're sat watching whatever the fuck it would have been in 1992 on the box on a Saturday night.
It's it, birds of a feather.
Yeah. And I go, she goes, this is, I remember actually, I've definitely told this one before, but I remember their names, that both her parents were called Chris, presumably Christopher and Christine. She went, this is my mum, Chris, and this is my dad, Chris. And obviously I've just pissed myself laughing. And they looked at me like they couldn't understand why I was fucking laughing. I'm like, well, you must have had this before. I mean, I am drunk, but come on, it's funny.
Perfectly normal, son.
And then, no, he was Northern, I remember, because he shook my hand, and I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Chris. And he was like, hello, I like that. And then as I walked out the door, I heard him say to his wife, and say it like a wet fish. I mean, you know. Brilliant. And I didn't take offence, because I thought, I don't have a fucking strong handshake, so what?
Do you think it was deliberately loud enough for you to be able to hear it?
Probably, yeah. And fair play to him.
Yeah, very good.
Fair play. I mean, you know, it's right. It's right for a father to, exactly. Put me in my place.
Quite right. Anyway, so this is complicated. Anyway, Corey's in Australia, and his daughter's been back in England for 4 years now with his mother. Fucking hell, tough one.
I mean, it is tough, and I feel for him. I don't know how I'd be able to emotionally process that, but I don't think violence is the answer. I recently I recently watched Daddy's Home with Len, which I haven't seen in a few years. Don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a really funny film. I really enjoy it. There's two of them. The first one's the best one, and it's got Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell's the stepdad. And Mark Wahlberg's the kind of renegade, cool, real dad who's not been on the scene because he's too cool. And there's just a great power play scene. It's one of the great power play scenes is that Will Ferrell, because he's trying so hard to be nice and welcoming to the real dad who's coming home, he says he's going to go and meet him, pick him up from the airport. But they've never met before. Yeah. But he has seen a picture of him. So he stands and he waits, and Mark Wahlberg suddenly appears looking super cool at the top of this escalator, and Will Ferrell's holding the guy's name, right? I think his name's Dusty, on a card like you do at the airport. And Dusty comes down the escalator, walks straight towards Will Ferrell, and Will Ferrell says, "Hey, you must be Dusty." And at last minute, Mark Wahlberg just goes, "Nope," and keeps on walking. So walks straight past him, right, without making eye contact. So then Will Ferrell just stays waiting at the end, thinks I must have made a mistake, and he waits for another few hours, right? And in the end he gives up, goes home, and when he gets home, of course, Mark Wahlberg's already been back at the house for 2 hours.
Tea party.
Yeah, and he's having dinner with his ex-wife, and they're having a great time and all that.
Right.
It's a brilliant power play. But my experience of this, the other experience of this that I have, which again I've talked before, is my Archie Buchanan, when he lived with us for a couple of years in the 80s, he never wanted to meet my dad. Just was desperate not to meet my dad. My dad, it was weird. He never really, I don't know if he spoke to my brothers about it. He knew that this geezer was living with us, and he'd come to pick me up. And I remember him once saying, "So, how's this Archie man who's living with you?
How is the Scottish man?
How is the Scottish milkman?
Scottishman.
How's the Scotsman? How's the Scotchman?" Right? And I just said, "Yeah, he's nice." And he went, good. And then that was it. That was the only exchange. Whereas I've often thought back about that and thought, if it was me, but then again, I'm the other extreme. I'm fucking neurotic. I'd be like the whole time, is he all right? Has he been nice to you? Has he touched you? Do you want me to kill him? Right, which wouldn't have been good either. My dad played it pretty cool. But whenever he knocked on the door, Archie would be sat there fucking watching Grandstand, right, with his fucking fried egg on his lap, fucking shoveling that in. And there'd be a knock, knock, knock. And I'd be like, oh, that's my dad, right? And I'd kind of want them to meet because I was sweet and innocent enough to not understand the awkwardness of the situation.
Yeah, friends.
I liked them both, right?
Yeah.
And he would literally, we used to fucking know, the fucking breakfast would practically fly up in the air with panic. And he would fucking race up the stairs and go and lock himself in a bedroom, right, away.
Yeah.
He couldn't... And my dad's only going to be on the doorstep for, like, a minute maximum. Do you know what I mean? He would shit himself. It was unclear why. It wasn't like... I don't think there was any indication that my dad was going to come and beat him up or anything like that. But, he just would fucking run. And the famous incident that... is like very famous in my family to the extent that my uncle Simon is obsessed and asks me about this story all the time. He's my dad's youngest brother, right? And he's like,
is this the one that wrote the book?
No, that's another.
Right.
That's a mad uncle. This is my like I've got one sane uncle basically, really, and he goes, tell me the story about Archie Buchanan again, because like my dad comes back, drops me off in his big flash car. On the estate, and we get out and we walk towards the front door, and I go, oh look, there's Archie. And that's because when we come round the corner from where we've parked, Archie is off down the fucking Carpenter's Arms, he's local, right, with the newspaper, the fucking Racing Post, like folded up under his arm, right, and he's off for his fucking Saturday night beers, right. And we've come round the corner and he's seen us last second before my dad's noticed. And he's jumped behind a fucking car and crouched down. But I, again, being a little dickhead, has gone, there's Archie. And my dad's done all this. Well, what are you talking about? What? Archie, what? What are you talking about? Where? And I go, there, over there. And you go,
you're seeing things now, boy.
Yeah, seeing things. This is ridiculous. This is why you shouldn't drink so much sugary drinks, right? Something like that. And I go, no, there he is. Archie. And Archie was literally on his haunches behind us, this fucking Ford Cortina. And I've gone, oh, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he played a game. And I've literally led my dad round the car. And Archie is shuffling on his haunches around the car to just avoid it. And they're literally yards away. And I'm pretty certain that in the end, my dad could see him, knew he was there, but understood how awkward
exactly what was happening,
and how
and was
desperate.
happy with it.
He was fine. He's like, I'm in no hurry to meet this cunt, and he is obviously fucking. I'm going to ruin this bloke's day if I say hello, pleased to meet you. So maybe out of sympathy for Archie and an understanding, we're both men. We both understand that this is awkward. Clearly, you're particularly troubled by it. So I'm going to ignore what my son is saying and just pretend that you're not there right in front of my eyes, down on your haunches with a copy of the Racing Post under your arm, right? He went, I don't know what you're talking about. Stop being silly. He said something like that. Yeah. Stop being silly. Come on, let's get you indoors.
You become the cunt in this situation.
Yeah, why am I the cunt? I just wanted to bring everyone together. Maybe you could be friends.
Jesus Christ. Well, I mean...
So they never met.
Look at it. My situation, I got my marriage ended 12 years ago. And we've, I think, successfully co-parented the kids.
Yeah, it seems like you do it well, yeah.
Fairly cordial relationship as co-parents. But the thing is, neither of us have been in a relationship since. So this kind of thing hasn't, reared its ugly head, if you like. So... And I can imagine if I was in those shoes, it would be really tricky. And I think, based on the thing that we've always tried to do, the co-parenting as well as we can, I think your approach has got to be as mature and as sensible as you can be for the kids.
Yeah, totally.
To not do anything like hide behind a car or run upstairs with a fried egg sandwich when someone comes to the door.
To be fair, that was Archie, and there's less, generally speaking, I would say it's less hard, probably. I don't know. I'm in this situation, so there'll be people listening who have, and they'll go, shut up, Sam. But Like, I see it from the dad's perspective. I think it's more awkward for the dad, in a way.
Yeah.
And because you have to play nice, really, don't you? And you can't,
ideally, yeah,
you can't make it awkward, but not everyone does, and it's fucking really, and it must be so difficult to remain adult. That's what I'm saying. So I've got the utmost respect for anyone who navigates those choppy waters, including you, even though, like you say, there's not another person in the picture. But
I mean, I think if you are going to meet up with him, try and make it somewhere that's a neutral public space. So therefore, there's no territorial shit going on. Anything that's a bit iffy is going to be played out in public, so people are going to be less inclined to act the cunt, let's say, rather than going around their house and meeting up. I don't know, go somewhere that's fun for the kids, like a park or a soft play or something like that, and make it around the kids.
Do not make that competitive. Right, so I'm pretty sure, mate. I've got a few mates. I mean, a lot of my oldest mates, right, when I'm thinking about it now, are in this position. I can think of 3 of my absolute oldest schoolmates who are all in this position. And when we meet up from time to time, it's very often the real. It makes up a bulk of the conversation. It's them telling me about not just the new bloke on the scene, but just like the complexities of like the 2 families and how they. And one of my mates, very competitive, he said, "We're all going to get together because I've got this new girlfriend and she's got 2 kids." He said, "And my ex has got a new fella and he's got 2 kids. So we're all getting together. Like, so there's 4 of us, 2 couples and all of these fucking kids, right? We've decided, let's just make this into a fun thing. Like, as in Sweden, they call it bonus. Yeah. They call it bonus family. You know what Swedes are like? They put a positive spin on all of their wild perversions that they have, right?
It sounds like the beginnings of a commune.
So he's going, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange. I'm going to book us some lanes at this bowling place, and we'll go bowling. I said, "You sure that's a good idea, mate?" He went, "Yeah, why not? It's really nice bowling." I went, "Yeah. It is for some people, but I've played competitive sports with you, and whether it's fucking tiddlywinks, right, or 11-a-side football on a Sunday morning, right, you are, with all due respect, you are incapable of not going out to win at all costs, right? Very competitive sporting person, won't ever back down in a sporting or competitive situation. Needs to be the best, is very talented, so is used to winning, right?" Yeah, and I'm like, this could be a fucking disaster. Yeah. Right. So for that reason, I'd say don't be competitive, because either you're going to get too into it, or what if the other bloke's better at you than a thing? You don't want to be bested by the new guy on the block in front of your kids. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I use a heavier ball as well, Richard. I use a 15.
Well, I could use.
What do you use, a 13?
I could use that ball, but my technique, I have a particular technique that involves me putting a lot of spin on it. So I think the heavier ball, it's like heavyweight boxers. It's just brute sort of power. Yeah. Whereas I feel there's an artistry to my technique, which requires a different sort of a ball.
That ball you've got there, that would just spin and skim all over the lane.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. Yeah. Yeah, ultimately,
I mean, I'm shit at bowling, mate. I'm so shit at bowling.
Oh, we're doing bowling tips now.
Just a couple of years ago, I'll tell this because sometimes it's cathartic to share, like, shameful experiences. I've never been good at bowling. Weirdly, I've got this sort of pattern with bowling where I'll turn up and I'll very often get 3 strikes with my first 3, bowls, and I'll think, fucking hell, my eye's in tonight. And then as the session goes on, I get worse and worse and worse. It's really weird. But for one of my kids' birthdays in the Isle of Wight, about 2, maybe 3 years ago, we went to the bowling in the Isle of Wight. And it was me, both my kids. They had the rails up, right? My wife and my mum. My mum beat me.
That's... Well, you know.
I was beaten by my mother at bowls.
Yeah, if you've got the rails up as well, though... People use them to bounce off and stuff, so it doesn't really count.
All right,
don't worry about
mate.
it.
Thank you, mate.
Don't worry about it. If the rails are down, I'm sure you would have beaten her.
Okay.
Fucking hell. I haven't been bowling since before COVID. I've just realised it was something we used to do quite regularly, and it just disappeared.
It can be quite good fun.
I was thinking about there's two things I haven't done since before COVID, and that's bowling and eating in supermarket cafes. My son used to go to Morrison's Cafe sometimes for tea, and I haven't done that since COVID.
Yeah,
these things just disappear out of your life because you stop
some places, a lot of places are shut. Like I don't go into central London as much. I spent, really since I was a teenager, I would be in the West End regularly, right? In the day, in the evening, whatever. Worked there for years and years. And now, since COVID, I just stopped really going in. In fact, I will go out my way to avoid having to go into centre of town. Just can't be asked, right? And the way I work now and the way that meetings are done over Zoom, it's not as necessary. But when I was a teenager, I used to go there in the day just to hang around in the shops or whatever. Just, I've just been going there my whole life, and now I don't. And the other day I had to go in there, and I realised it's since COVID that I've stopped going in. Fucking everything's changed just in a few years because so many of the old haunts, like little old cafes that have been there like from the 50s or shops that you're familiar with, all fucking shut. And I didn't see that happen at the time. But I said to my missus, who has to be in town more than me, I said, fucking hell. I had a place in practically every little quarter of the West End. I had a little spot where I'd either go for a coffee or pop into a shop. Sometimes I'd know people in some of the spots around there. So it's all fucking... She went, yeah, it all fucking went in COVID. That's why it's all like... Now it's all just changed because they're the only things that could survive. And I found that a little bit sad. But never mind.
It is. Never mind.
I am going to Timpson's soon because my son needs his first set of keys cut. Now he's like going to and from school and all the rest of it. And he's been using the spare set, but we need to get him his own bit. And I bigged up Timpson's to him so much that we're now turning it into like a full day out. I mean, it's only walking distance.
Don't go in there and don't ask the fella behind the counter what crimes he did. That's bad.
Oh yeah, because they get prisoners, don't they? I haven't even told Len that bit. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell him that.
In the same way as in prison, you don't ask a fellow prisoner what they're in for.
Jalapeño.
Yeah, just try and, I don't know if be the bigger man's the right phrase, because that's a bit of a shit phrase, that I think, but just try and do what's best for the well-being of the kids at the end of the day. That will Philip Larkin poem.
Oh yeah, I mean,
mum and dad, they don't mean to, but they do. Don't fuck the kids up in the head.
I'm sure that you will, but my respect to you because I'm sure it's difficult. Sure it's a strain. Yeah,
especially given the Australia-England distance thing. That's a nightmare. But make the best of it what you can. What else we got? Chris one, wrong name dilemma. A lad I barely know has been calling me by the wrong name for 20 years. This is only Fuzz and Horses trigger. Calling Dave. I only see him in passing very rarely, so never corrected him. Unfortunately, I've started a new job and he only bloody works here. It's only been a few days and I've hidden from him so far. Brilliant. In the toilets and crouched behind a desk. Oh, the Archie...
the Archie technique. The Buchanan manoeuvre.
Do I approach him in a quiet spot and set it straight, or just kill him? Cheers, lads.
I think you just got let me ask you something, right? Because if I'm in that situation, I use the fallback of calling the person mate.
Yeah.
Let me ask, if I do that, and I do it with everyone, if it was you and I was saying to you mate and I kept calling you mate, would you know this cunt doesn't know my fucking name, the cunt?
I'm quite perceptive, so I would figure it out eventually, yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad.
But it'll be weird because we do a podcast together 5 days a week. Yeah.
But like, I do feel bad, like when I say mate. But I do that. I do it to lot. I mean, I will call you mate quite regularly. I call people whose names I remember. Just for the record, if you've met me and I've called you mate, it doesn't necessarily mean I don't know your name. I call my kids. I call every cunt mate. The dog, the cat, everything. Some people don't like the word mate. It's just a habit, I called a tree a mate once. Don't forget when I pulled its leaf off that time. I went, sorry about that, mate. So, but yeah, I sometimes think, is it transparent? If you can't remember, because that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, I would. It depends how well you know him, but I would just take him to one side and say, "Look, this is really funny
Listen,
and stupid, but you know, all this time you've known me, you've been calling me Steve, and well, that's not my name, and there we go." So I'm just setting it straight once and for all. Just do that. It'll
Don't
take a couple
feel
of minutes.
weird about it.
He'll be more embarrassed than you.
Exactly. Go. Don't feel weird about it. My name's not Steve. You've called me Steve for ages, and it just became a thing that I just let go for too long.
I just didn't know how to correct it.
We have to break the cycle. The cycle needs to be broken.
He'll be more embarrassed than you are. The only danger is, you said kill him. The only danger is he'll be so embarrassed that he might try and strangle you.
He might have to
just try and get out of
just
the
be aware of
situation.
that. Be aware of your stance. Be ready to protect yourself. Be ready for combat in case he decides that he needs to eradicate you from shame.
It's a long shot though. All right, so there we go. The follow-up question, a couple of questions down from Adam Cousins. I've known a fella for 20 years, can't even remember his name. Should I just keep guessing? Very good. Steve Morton says, shall I buy Subbuteo again after all these years? Nope.
Nah. Don't.
Nope.
I've made that mistake.
Its time. Yeah, I did that. I bought an old one from the 1980s from a charity shop and had to iron the pitch, and then no. Just no. Just play FIFA. It's better.
Yeah, just play FIFA. It's better. It was just leave it. It was great memories, but it's a lot of stuff. It takes up a lot of space in your rig. There's a lot of setup. And if you try and play it with your kid, which I did, they're just like, what the fuck is this bollocks? Because they played FIFA. So they're like, what? I've got to flick this cunt around. Fuck that. Do you know what I mean? I've got to stand up. I've got to stand up to play this game, have I? No thanks.
I've just leant on one of the players with my elbow, and now he's crushed. Now he's fucking
I just
knocked
some cunt off the table and the dog's eating it. And now we're going to have to take the dog to the vet. And the vet's going to charge us $1,000 to fucking, get it out of it because it's stuck in the dog's fucking lower intestine. My dog used to eat so many Subbuteo players. So it's a fucking minefield. The violence, the disagreement. It's a lovely idea. I tell you what I do sometimes is I just look at old pictures online of really good Subbuteo setups from the days gone by. I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we do talk a lot about the past on this show. We do a lot of nostalgia, but that doesn't mean that we endorse going back to that.
Well, we used to always say, we don't say it as much as we used to, but one of our main phrases used to be, you can't go back.
You can't go back.
And I'll add to that and say, nor should you. Nor should you.
Yeah, nor should you. Andy Walker, what's the safest way to dispose of an out-of-date bank card? Just cut it into 2 pieces. Put one in the bin in your kitchen.
Yeah.
The second half, just take it on holiday when you're going on holiday and bury it in the sand on the beach, and they should be pretty safe, I think.
If you're not going on holiday, what's the minimum distance you could drive before burying it in some woods?
I think you've got to be looking at whatever half a day is, 250 miles.
250
half
miles
a day there,
from your home.
Bury it, half a day back. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe or if you're not driving, train, whatever.
You could combine it with some sightseeing.
You could do. Yeah.
And
bury it somewhere?
Is it safer to steal, to hotwire a car to do this journey in, so you can't be tracked on cameras and whatnot by your registration?
It's harder to hotwire cars these days. What you got to do is go online and get one of those things that can intercept the signals from the remote control keys.
Apparently,
and then you can just open the car.
Apparently, the easiest cars to do that with are Range Rovers, which is great because they're great cars. But apart from when it comes to their security,
they're a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah. You get there's something that you can get online, and you just press a button, tap tap, and then you're in a Range Rover, no problem. Away.
Yeah, I think eBay you can get them on.
Yeah,
but that's probably the best way of doing that.
And remember, stealing a car is really a victimless crime.
Pretty much, yeah. Apart from the victim.
Yeah, apart from the worst, if you come out, your car's been nicked.
There's only one victim, so it's quite a low level.
Yeah, and you get the insurance and all that. The annoying thing, if you have a car nicked, I've had a car nicked once. When we were kids, my mum, if we didn't often have a car. If we did, it would just always be nicked at some point. It was just part. In those days, I think cars were just easy to nick, weren't they? And it would just be like, how long will we have this car before it is stolen, right? But very often you'd get it back because it would be found. You go and look round estates. And it would be like sort of just left there because it might have been joyriders who then dump it or what have you. And but I've only had in the modern age, I've only had a car stolen once, which was by my ingenious burglars who broke into my house, burgled it. But the first thing they did was they found the car key, ran out, opened the car,
opened the boot,
pulled the car around the front of my house, and loaded all my fucking stuff into my own motor. And then made off in it. And then, I mean, I've told the story before, but the fucking mad cunt who did it, he was just driving around in my car in West London for weeks afterwards. Bold as brass. And he was well known for being quite a sort of a renegade. And I said to the police when the police were telling me, oh, yeah, we know we know who did it, and he's driving around your car still. And I said, why didn't you fucking stop him? They said, oh, no. We've got instruction not to ever try and stop this guy in a car because he's the sort of cunt who, if you try and stop him, he will just mount the pavement and just plough through everyone.
Carnage.
Yeah. Like fucking Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, my dad worked for the AA when I was a kid, not the Alcoholics Anonymous, the Fourth Emergency Service, and back then, you know, cars used to be locked by the button that you'd press down.
Yeah.
And you got out, or lift the button up to get out of the car. And he taught us how to get into a car because he had loads of people who'd get locked out of their cars.
Yeah, that was one of his most common call-outs, probably.
One of the most common call-outs, yeah. So you know that plastic packaging tape that goes around boxes.
Yeah.
He had some of that with him all the time, and you'd fold it in half, and then you'd kind of make a little loop out of it.
Yeah.
What you do is you push it in down the side of the door in the gap, and then you'd have to jemmy it round so you'd get it over. It was almost like a game.
Yeah.
You'd get it over the button because if the button had a little bit at the top of the button, you could get the loop of the plastic packaging underneath that top of the button.
Yeah.
And lift it up, and there was an art to it. It was a skill, and that's all you had to do to get into a car. And my dad taught us this, and I used to practice on our car at home. But I never took it into the arena of the thief.
Well,
it was only I only used it. That skill for
you've got that in your
pleasure.
back pocket. Although most cars don't have that system anymore.
No good now, unless you try and nick a vintage car, I suppose. Yeah.
Vintage car thief Andrew Dawson.
So I think
former podcaster turned vintage.
Me and you
car
together.
thief.
If we were going to dispose of someone's half of a bank card, me and you together, I guess. Do you know how to hotwire a car?
Yeah, I've seen it. You pull the wires out from underneath the steering wheel and then you tap the ends together, don't you? Tap, tap! Yeah.
Just the wires.
Yeah, the
I don't know which wires you
grab
do
the wires and fiddle about and them soon starts up.
There's two wires. So I could get us in by lifting the button up with the plastic tape, and then you could hotwire it and we'd go off and dispose of the card somewhere.
And the important thing is, once you've stolen the car and you've completed your mission and driven 250 miles, I feel silly saying it because obviously everyone knows this, do make sure you burn the car out at the end.
Of course.
Find some wasteland, burn it out.
Yeah, and if you can, then find a vantage point nearby because there's nothing more fun than watching a burning car.
Andy, I don't know if this is true in your part of the country, but in my part of the country, I notice a lot less wasteland than there was when I was growing up. There was always, everywhere had some wasteland. Yeah. And I'm not saying it was good. I found wasteland pretty intimidating, to be honest. I thought it was unsightly and dangerous. But when I was in Belfast recently, I noticed quite a few patches of wasteland, and they were real classic wasteland that you see on old documentaries, like fenced off and just like some dumped things, rubble, mainly rubble. And kids used to go and play on wasteland, didn't they? And like the reason I'm thinking about it now is that you'd burn a car out on some wasteland if you had a car that needed burning out. Now, everything in London, even in the rundown areas, everything's been built on. There is not a single patch of wasteland.
So few spaces.
Yeah.
There's not enough youth clubs for kids to play in.
Yeah.
And there's not enough wasteland for people to burn cars out on either.
What's interesting is that I was driving along, I was on the North Circular Road, and there was all these cranes building like fucking huge tower blocks, right? Everywhere you look on the skyline. And I'm saying to my missus, who the fuck is building those and what for? The whole city is full of fucking unoccupied fucking towers, right? Of unoccupied offices and unoccupied executive flats, which you and I know to be sex people flats, right?
Yeah.
And
or units of investment for Russians.
well, that's it, because you just think everyone's skint, the economy's fucked, no one's got any money, right? No one can afford to live in London. More and more people want to move out of London. There are immigrants and people coming in, but they can't afford to purchase luxury flats or hire these things, right, when they first arrive in the city. So I'm like, why is the whole fucking skyline dominated constant? This looks from the outside like a city that it's boom time. Do you know what I mean? Because there's cranes everywhere, fucking towers going up everywhere, and it must all be dodgy. It must be like almost entirely money laundering exercises. It must be.
Gotta be. I can't think of much wasteland that isn't covered over now around here. There used to be a great old railway line which had been disused. That I used to walk my dog along about 25 years ago.
Must have felt good.
And that was... Are you scratching something?
Mate, you've got the ears of a fucking bat. I literally...
No, it's coming right through. It must be right next to your phone.
I literally just stroked the tripod. I stroked it, not even with my nails, with the tips of my soft little fingers.
Tripod that's got your phone on it.
Yeah, I just stroked. It was one stroke, I swear. A little stroke. And you're like, are you scratching something?
Well, that's all right, because it won't come through on your microphone.
I was thinking to myself,
here.
I thought, I'll have a little stroke of that. He won't hear this, because I'm just going to keep it flesh. It's flesh on plastic. He won't hear this. You heard it again, within a split second.
Yeah.
Well, I've learnt my lesson.
I thought there was a massive problem on the line. So this railway line used to walk the dog along was great, because it had the classic abandoned railway line or abandoned woodland area of shredded pornography in the bushes, which people think is a myth almost, but yeah, it was a thing. They would tear up porn mags and leave them lying around in the bushes and stuff.
Yeah, they wouldn't always tear them. Sometimes they'd just be water damaged.
Yeah, these weren't intact. They'd been tore up and scattered almost like a treasure trove.
Yeah,
and you had to go from place to place and try and find the next page and then
piece it together like a pornographic jigsaw.
Yeah, so that was good fun walking along there. But that's all houses now. Anyway, can't go back.
You can't go back. And I'm not necessarily lamenting the end of Wasteland, because Wasteland, like we're talking about, it was pretty miserable to look at sometimes. It'd be depressing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just an observation. No more Wasteland.
It was nice to know it was there, though, wasn't it?
Just in case you needed to burn a car out, yeah.
Yeah, or stash some pornography somewhere. All right, that's it from this. We've solved some more problems there. I think that's probably the end of it. And there are no more problems. Thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.